Welcome to this session on expression nodes. In this session, we're going to create an expression node to represent the number of guest room floors in our massing model. So far we've defined variables for the overall height of the building, as well as the lobby height and a typical guest room floor height. But another number that we might want to have would be the number of guest room floors. Of course, that's really dependent on that overall height and the floor-to-floor height of the guest room floors. So it's actually not a variable. It's not something we can control. It's going to be controlled by the overall height and the floor-to-floor height of the guest room floors. So what it is an expression. It's simply a mathematical expression, something we can calculate. And so we have a node where we can build that expression and then simply use the resulting value as an input for another node. So I'm going to go over to my node types. I'm going to come down to the utility nodes, and you'll see there's an expression node. So I'll just click on that, and that adds it to the graph. I'm just going to drag it over here. So the expression node needs to have a name, just like a slider node would have. I'm going to click in there, and we're going to call this NUM for number, and then GR floors. So it's the number of guest room floors. And then we need to write that expression here. I'm going to open up this full script editor. We can actually enlarge our text if you find that helpful. Now we write expression nodes following the basic rules of mathematical expressions. You might know that as BODMAS or PODMAS. It's parentheses first, then operations, order of operations, multiply, divide, and then add and subtract. So in order to calculate the number of guest room floors, essentially we need to take the overall height of the building. We would subtract out the lobby height and then take that resulting value and divide it by our guest room floor height. So to write that expression, I'm going to start with some parentheses. And I can just start typing in my variables, and you'll see it pops up a list, and then we can double click it from the list. So it's going to be the height, then it's just minus, and then we need the lobby height. So I can select that. So that's the first operation I need. I'm going to close that in parentheses. So I need to perform that subtraction first. Then I can take that value and divide, just a slash, by the guest room height. So again, I can start typing in and then select guest room height. And that should give me the value that I need, and I can simply apply, close it, and you'll see the value here on the node. Now the only problem with that value is it's 5.2. Now we can't actually have 5.2 floors. We actually need an integer. So I need a way to round that number. And I actually am always going to want to round it down because I can never have a partial floor. So I'm going to open the expression builder back up. And what we need to do is perform a function on that that's going to basically round that final value. I'm going to open up on that green icon is the expression builder. Now this will give you a list of different functions that could be used here. And if we scroll down through the list, for instance, there's a round function we can see here, and it basically tells you, gives you a description of what it does. It'll round a value to a given number of places. And the only problem with that is it would, of course, round up if we were above 0.5 and round down if we were below 0.5. And we want this to always round down. I'm going to scroll back up here, and there's another function which is called floor, and you can see there that says it rounds a number down to the nearest whole number. Well, that's perfect. So we're going to use that function. I'm going to close this, And I'm just going to come here to the front of my expression, and I'm going to start typing that. So I write floor, and then after the arguments for a function are always put in parentheses. So I'm going to type a parentheses at the beginning there, and I'm going to come and put a parentheses at the end. So it's basically taking everything inside that parentheses, our entire expression, and then it's going to round it down to the nearest whole number. And I'm going to select apply. And you'll see now that that value's been set to 5. So we now have a node on the graph that we can use as an input for other nodes that's going to react to changes to our sliders. It's going to calculate the number of guest room floors that we can have in this massing. So if I were to go to my height node and move that slider and go up to 155 feet, for instance, you can see, well, now we can see we could get 10 floors in the building. And in the same way, if I change the floor-to-floor height on my guest room height, we'll move it, say, down to 10 feet floor-to-floor, we should find that we can now get 13 floors in the building. So that expression reacts to the changes to our variables. So now that I have that set up, I've verified it's working properly, I'm going to go to my transactions and record. Now we have all the inputs that we need to start setting up building and floor nodes that will populate our floor manager.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.